Be alive, everybody. How's everybody doing? Mum, Robin, welcome back.
Welcome back indeed. I've got the tail end of a throat infection, which is not great.
Oh, fun.
Lovely. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Yes.
How are you both?
All right. I had a minor procedure on my arm yesterday, so I've got a nice big bandage here and it hurts really badly. And I had my second vaccine on Tuesday in this arm, so basically working with no arms today is quite fun.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
Other than that, I'm all right. Robin, how about you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm fine. Things are going. My allergies are up the wazoo, but
Yeah.
that's nothing new.
Did you get a new bookshelf?
I did.
Oh, it's nice. I like that.
Basically,
Very snazzy.
I went out and bought a bunch of books on Saturday because I was craving some reading. Went to put them on my bookshelf, and the bookshelf kind of decided it didn't want to do life anymore, really. Basically everything was falling off of it. So I was like, you know what? You know you're going to get more books. This isn't even half of what the books I actually have. So I thought, let me just get a new bookshelf section to just add to.
It's quite cute.
I've got a couple of boxes of her books down in a cupboard here somewhere.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. This is like about a quarter or half of the collection. So.
And your little Monstera plant is living his best life.
He has got a pride place
square
to himself. Aww. I didn't know whether to have him here or to have him up on that top free section over there.
It's very sweet.
This bit here.
Very cute. My plant has grown like crazy. I watered it and now it's gone absolutely nutty.
Plants tend to do that when you water them.
Yeah, maybe I won't be doing that one again then.
Mum!
You don't want it to die.
True enough.
Well, ladies, today we are discussing blogging. And I think it's probably a good idea to start with the why of blogging, why we blog as a business, not specifically us, but other people in general. It also goes for us as well. So why is it important to blog? If you've got a website and you've got a blog on the website, why should you be using that function?
Oh my goodness, so many different reasons. I can't even.
We're throwing the big questions at you to start with.
So first of all, to have fresh content on your site, to have content that's changing. Secondly, to display your expertise and provide valuable content and information from people who might want to buy from you at some point in the future. And number 3, for search engine rankings. So creating local content will get you more local exposure. Creating content around topics that your user base would find important is another good one for SEO. Yeah, and fourthly, for exposure, because the more you write, the more likely you're going to be picked up by other websites who find your content interesting and will link back to you. So it gives you lots of different opportunities to get your name out there on the web and to hopefully improve your search engine rankings, as well as persuading clients further down your funnel.
So it's something that if you've got a website and you want people to see your website, it's something that you just should be doing in order for that to happen.
Yes,
or make it more common.
There's nothing that I have seen that's changed over the last 10 to 15 years that would suggest that you shouldn't blog. You could create backlinks just to various pages on your website, but then if you've only got 5 pages on your website, there's nothing new going on, there's nothing new to be sending people to on social media or anywhere else. So yeah, the more quality content, the better.
Okay, and quality content is what kind of content?
Oh dear, so I've written to death on this topic, I think. It's as long as it needs to be, so it's generally 500 words and up. It's well written, it's closely related to what you do or a topic that's of interest to the people who you're trying to attract. It's grammar checked. Google was created by people with PhDs. They love people to write correctly, grammatically correct. They like punctuation. They don't like spelling errors. And they like you to cite where information comes from. So if you're putting together a blog post, don't just lift it from someone else. That's plagiarism, and that's really bad quality content. Rewrite it in your own words and cite the original topic if you're going to excerpt from it.
Yeah.
So it's all about quality of providing new information with your spin on it.
So you sort of have to think of Google as like your teacher at school who's going to search through
They're
your
marking
content.
you.
They're giving
the
you
algorithm is marking you.
Yeah, which is kind of scary to think of, I guess, for a lot of people. But and that moves on to another point, which is if you are not confident about writing, is it something that you have to do? Do you have to have a blog? And how do you start if you're not quite confident in your writing?
Frameworks are your best friend, I think.
Yeah,
there's lots of different frameworks out there that can help you write an intro. I always start with a very basic framework. I work out what the topic's going to be. I have a look at that topic and see what other people write about and what their subheadings are. So what is all the information that people are going to want? And I just brainstorm that into a list, and then I decide what it is that I want to talk about in relation to those items. And that normally gives you a really good framework. If you have got a topic that you know inside out, so I do that for people when I'm writing for them where I don't necessarily, I'm not an expert in their topics. If you're an expert in your topic, you just brainstorm that, right? You know you're going to have an intro, you know you're going to have 3 or 4 potential subsections with more subheadings under that, and then a closing paragraph, a conclusion of some kind. That's the easiest way to flesh it out.
And I think if you're one of those people that can't visualize it before it's sort of there and you need that framework in place, there are a couple of places that you can go. Chris Lima's got some really good frameworks. HubSpot's got some fantastic frameworks that you can use as actually theirs are really lengthy. So I might add a couple of those in the links at the bottom of the video.
Have they still got the ones on there? Because they used to show you how to write a link post. They used to show you how to write a listicle and ones, you know, where you're doing Q&As and stuff.
They do, and then they add in sort of the how many headings you need and where the sort of introduction should start, what it should include. And I think that specifically helped me when I was writing a couple of bits that I'm not really that familiar with, to have a little plan in place to go, okay, I need to follow that, rather than sort of trying to come up with something in your brain.
Yeah, starting with a blank page can be the most intimidating thing.
Daunting sometimes.
It is really daunting.
Yeah.
You've just entered the world of blogging, haven't you, Robin? How are you finding that as a novice blogger?
I think that it's going well, and I'm kind of trying to work out what works for me, because obviously for my blog I kind of wanted to be quite visual. I'm talking through projects that I've done, and I'm doing lots of visual cues to kind of say, well, this is what I did and this is how I did it and this is why I did it. So it follows that kind of that step-by-step guide type of blog.
Yeah.
You
know who's got a really good, who has a very visual style blog, and that's Carol Stephen.
Oh yeah, from who does DigiBlog Chat.
Yes, if we link to hers in the notes, she very much does large social shareable images on her blogs, and quite a lot of them with a small amount of text in between explaining what she's saying.
Yeah.
So if you're not confident in writing, which Carol is very confident in writing, she's a really good writer, but she's also a very visual person.
Yeah.
I would have a look at the way that she does it. Definitely, she's a really good, and she's been blogging for years, so you've got lots and lots of stuff to go in and have a look at there.
So what we're saying is it doesn't have to be an essay type post every time. You don't want it to be
mix it up.
Yeah, you don't want it to be a academic portfolio unless that's your vibe and that's the audience's vibe that you're going for. It can be something, top 5 tips, top 7 choices, or using that as a framework is an easier way to look at it, because that's sort of how when we list things out, we like to do that. So, and people like to read that stuff. I love reading lists.
So do I. The only ones that I don't like is where they're talking about nothing. You get to the end of the list and you go, that hasn't given me a roadmap. It hasn't given me the steps and the actions I need to take. So I think that's where value comes in. Anything that you put out there, don't just do it because you've got to do it. It needs to be valuable and useful.
Yeah. And so the ideation side of it, because you're always writing for your audience, you're not writing it for yourself, you're writing it for the people who are going to be buying from you, the people who use your services. Where do you start coming up with those ideas? Where does that sort of journey start? And is there a way that you can make that easier on yourself rather than sitting down with that blank piece of paper and worrying about it?
Brainstorm questions that your clients ask you all of the time. I mean, we know that we're asked over and over again the same things, and actually it's really useful to say, well, this is how it's done, but here there's a nice long blog post about it that will take you through it step by step. But all of those questions that come up, just pop them in a document somewhere, or write them down on a notepad or on a whiteboard, wherever you keep your information in your trusty journal. wherever you keep that information, that's one way of getting it. And another way is just brainstorming and look at the topics that you take people through, so we know what the stages of a web design process are, or what the stages are of doing a brand clarity for someone. So you can just look at what are those headline sections when you're doing things and the phases that you go through, and talk about each of those. That's a good way to start.
Yeah. And so I always end up putting it into a calendar. For me, that's how my brain works. So I know what's going out on what day and where. So if you've got these ideas and you've got a list of them, put them into just sort of a calendar monthly for yourself, whether that's one for each week or one for every other week. I think generally we try to do one every week. But I understand for a lot of people, that's a lot of sort of time out of the week, isn't it?
It is.
Get up and running.
I think frequency is important, and there's so when you're talking about search engines, there are certain hurdles that you reach, or certain trigger points that are not necessarily part of the algorithm, but they're just indications of that you as an entity have reached a certain milestone. And you'll quite often see traffic really picking up to a website once it's hit 50 pieces of content, and 50 pieces of quality content.
Yeah.
So if you're writing 150 words every week, that's probably not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you put the effort in to do 50 good pieces of content, and there's a market for what you're selling, and people are using the web to find that, and you're using kind of the right terms, you're likely to get more traffic. So if you can do it every other week, you're going to get there a lot faster than you are by doing it once a month.
Yeah. And it also gives you extra content for all of the other places that you need content for. It gives you content for videos that you might want to make. It gives you content for podcasts. It gives you content for your social media posts. Everything you can pull out of those blog posts that you've created and expand on them, and then link back to the blog post if need be, or not, depending on the case. But
it gives you content for your Google My Business, all of these things where you can get exposure. If you're going to a networking group, quite often you'll have the ability to blog on their website, as long as your blog has been posted for a certain amount of time and the search engines have indexed it. Absolutely put a synopsis and link back to your website, or slightly reword it for them. So yes, you've got lots of fodder to go everywhere.
And the other place it's great for is Medium and LinkedIn. So you can shoot back from you'll create a post on there, which I find that LinkedIn for me gets quite a lot of traction, whereas posting to Facebook, posting to Twitter doesn't quite get as much if I'm linking direct to the blog post. So if you are using LinkedIn, make sure that you don't copy and paste it, but synopsize.
Yeah, do a synopsis.
Do a synopsis. I feel like there should be a word there.
Synopsify.
Give a synopsis of.
Give a synopsis of the blog, and then link through to it at the bottom to your actual blog post. And yeah, that might be another way of trying to get people to read it, because in the end you do want people to be reading it, as well as it being a benefit for Google and
no, absolutely. So it's always your end user first. Although we are doing it to help our search rankings, you always write the content with the user in mind. We've had some shocking examples of clients that have got completely the wrong end of the stick. And so, for instance, we started with one client several years ago. Google didn't know what they were. They equated them with Wikipedia, the BBC. And if you ever look into Google and look what are similar websites to yours, if Google's saying that those are your competitors, then Google has not got a clue what you're doing. That's their basic bog standard thing. So we got that sorted out. We did their SEO with them. We did their content calendars and so on, and we got that sorted. Google knew absolutely what they did, and then they got a new internal team in, which was great. I always love it when people expand and they get their own internal team, but they completely changed the emphasis of what they were writing about. So instead of being a SaaS product, which is what they are, Google then thought that they were a teaching organization, teaching accounting, and that's not what they do at all. So the traffic that they were then getting from that was quite massive, but the conversion rate was terrible, because people were only going there to get information around how do I calculate return on investment, what is return on ad spend, all of these accounting type terms that they'd turn their site into this encyclopedia for accounting terms, and therefore they were getting completely wrong traffic. So you do have to be a little bit careful.
And how do you track that then? What's the best way of knowing whether the content that you're creating is causing issues or whether it's doing you a benefit? How do you do that?
So I would always use Google Analytics. It's free to everyone. Obviously, enterprise level clients use other packages, but for most of us, Google Analytics is perfectly fine. And if you go into the acquisition and channel reports, you can have goals set up so that you know if someone's signed up for something, or if they've put something into their cart, or whether they're just bouncing directly off the page. And those things will give you an indication about whether or not you're in the right spot. To work out whether or not Google actually thinks that you're right, your competitors are your competitors, then you probably use something like Moz or Ahrefs or SEMrush, and just do a check to see what they think your competitors are.
Yeah. So, and
or similar web. Even.
Yes. Yeah. Or get us to do it.
Or get
it's the other option. Yeah, it's the other thing.
Yeah. If you've got any small concerns and you think, oh my gosh, am I heading in the right direction? We're always more than happy to have a quick look for you and say, this looks okay, or actually we think you need to do a bit of work around this.
Just
and then
pivoting certain directions.
And we do consulting by the hour, so we can just have a quick call and literally help you get back onto the right track.
Yeah.
I think as a person who's new to blogging, relatively speaking,
we've just scared you totally.
No, not at all. I would also say one of the really important things is to make sure to find a way to make it fun for you.
Yes.
Because the more engaging your content is, the more you engage with it, you'll find the more that other people engage with it. If you write like a full 500 words and you're not interested in the subject at all, but you're writing it because that's what you do, the people reading it will know you. There are certain tones that come through when you write, so you've really got to make sure that you're as another part of your checklist, just try and make it fun. And if you think, as Kitty suggested, take a question you're frequently asked, take it and put a spin on it. If you're feeling that's a bit dull, make it funny, make it interesting, make it engaging to yourself as well as your audience who you've got on the other side, because you will have a much easier time blasting out those once a week blog post topics if you are having fun doing it. There's nothing worse than sitting down at your table to write a blog post if you are bored with the idea of it already. And of course, sometimes in your job there, sometimes you're going to have to do things that you're bored of, but try to find those ways to make it a little bit more engaging.
There's a couple of ways to do that as well. I mean, there's people like Chris Brogan, who has a lovely list of, I think, 100 blog topics to get you started, or Ian Laurie from Portent. He has this great, really funny headline maker. So you put in your topic and then it creates crazy headlines for you. And that sometimes gets you into the mood for thinking, oh,
what would I put
that spin on to that? But also lovely tool for helping you. So if you've written something, and sometimes I write things and I think, oh dear, I sound like a head teacher or a librarian, or that's a little bit dry. Grammarly is really good for, you have to be careful with Grammarly because it doesn't know everything. It does try and replace words and things that are not right, but it will help you change your tone now, which I think is really clever. And it'll help you change sentences around to make them more active and that kind of thing, which is great.
Yeah. And sometimes you need that when you're writing it down. I think the other thing that I would consider doing, if you're not a person that can easily sit down and start typing, speak it into your phone. Use one of the voice recorders, or what's it called? The begins with the T, prompters things. You can basically talk it into your phone and it will pick up it will write it out for you. And that I find a little bit easier, rather than using something like Rev to transcribe it once you've videoed it the way we do. Just do that through your phone, then upload that to your Google Docs, and then you can edit it that way. Because sometimes it's easier to have the conversation, it's easier to speak it out loud rather than because you start thinking, oh, what am I going to write? And you go down paths that you wouldn't take normally because you're trying to write rather than speak.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I've never done that. I've walked clients through doing that. But it doesn't suit the way that I do things. But
you're a confident writer, though. You've always been quite a confident writer. Journalism. So it fits you in that way.
I think it's whatever you lean to, right? Because we've got one client, Elaine, and she writes incredibly, doesn't she? And she writes exactly as she speaks, which is absolutely crazy, and it's beautiful, and she tells fantastic stories. And I think sometimes that is really hard to capture by writing it, which she does. I don't know how she does it. But if you speak that, you're more likely to get that result, aren't you?
Yeah, because it's not natural to write the way you speak, because there's different strategies to writing than there is to speaking, and you're trying to be informative when you're trying to be conversational is not the same thing. The reason I tend to use it is if I'm bored and I don't want to sit at my computer, but I do want to do I'm there to do the work. I can put it into my phone and then I can edit it next time I sit down. So at least I've done that portion, it's in my phone, and I can just go back and then edit it from that way.
It's one of those things you can do anywhere, right? You can be sitting in the car waiting for the kids to come out of school, or you've dropped them off somewhere to do sports or something like that. Or you're on your way home from work, if it's your side hustle that you're blogging for, or even if it's for your work that you're blogging for, you're commuting. It's something that you can do in those in-between spaces to capture what's going on in your head. Because quite often, by the time we've thought of something brilliant, right, on the way home or wherever, and by the time you get home, it's completely gone. So if you do put it into your phone, but that's definitely a spoken one and not a written one if you're driving, people.
Yes, don't write and drive. None of us drive, so I don't know how feasible that is, but don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Sounds like a bad idea. For sure. Yeah, it's a tricky topic, because I think when we speak to clients, it's like everyone wants to keep it at arm's length, because it seems like something that would take a really long time, and you need to get into the habit of it. But sort of once you've done one, once you've done two, you end up, it takes you an hour to get your thoughts out onto the paper. Then it gets you an hour to edit it and upload it, and you're done. So really, it's only going to take you about 2 hours, possibly less if you are a proficient writer, you like to write. It's not going to take you that long. And again, you can use that for repurposing. So you don't need to come up with fresh new content for social media for the next day because you've got this post ready to go out and all of that good stuff. So don't be overwhelmed with the amount of time that you think it's going to take, because it doesn't always take as long as you think it's going to.
No, and I used to do, when I was doing the Avidmode blog, I used to do that writing on a Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Because Sunday evenings, I don't know about you, but you've always got, oh, it's Monday tomorrow, I've got all of this to do. Your head starts whirring. You start anticipating what's going to happen the next week, and then actually it's something to take your mind off those things and to process on something constructive.
Yeah. And you go in with having already achieved something for the week, which is always
and a glass of wine alongside it doesn't always hurt either.
Writing and drinking at the same time sounds dangerous too.
But it depends, right? It depends. A lot of people get really uptight and tense and worried. So pop yourself into, I mean, Daniel, my business partner, who doesn't come onto this very often.
He's here. He's in the background.
He's in the background. He laughs at me because I do different things in different environments. And I think you have to find the environment that's right for you for writing. So I don't write at this desk. I write when I've got a window in front of me so that I can gaze out and, take in a bit of nature. But, equally, if I'm away, I'll cozy up on the sofa and I'll write quite happily there. It's finding that thing that allows you to create in that way,
to put you in the right mindset.
Definitely.
For me it's either here or sort of laying on the floor.
You're quite often lying on the floor.
I love to lie on the floor and write. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's comfy because that's like the sleeping position when I'm like doing stuff. But that for me, and outside I've written quite a lot sitting in the park and sort of doodling it down on paper rather than taking the hefty old laptop with me.
Starbucks used to be one of my favorite places to write. Not that there is a Starbucks in Maidenhead anymore.
What happened? Did they shut it down?
The pandemic happened.
God, Maidenhead must be empty. Is there anything left there?
Yes, actually the little deli cafe that Robin and I loved that was around the corner has moved into the big Starbucks space in the shopping centre, which is lovely. I mean, they're great. But yeah, I do miss a nice decaf Starbucks.
And I would add, by the way, that the only place that I can write is this desk. If I try and move anywhere else other than this desk, if I try and sit on the sofa, or I try and sit on the floor, or I try and sit in a different room, I get distracted. If I want to do something else or can't be bothered, if I sit at my desk and write, I can get it done easy as pie. I think I'm probably similar in terms of if I went to a cafe, I could write really well. If I could go and sit down somewhere and just
focus on it,
shut yourself off,
then that would be good as well. But I think it's that space in the desk, because usually I'll have a notebook next to me and I'll be doodling every now and then, or I'll be doing this, or I'll be doing that, or I'll be listening to music.
Yes, I was going to say that's my other thing, is listening to music whilst I do it. I often listen to Disney music whilst I'm writing the Avidmode blogs. It's one of my go-tos, and I've got a playlist that I just shove on, and then I'm singing away and typing away, and it flows really well. So if you've got sort of music that sticks with you and that you like to belt out, that can be another way, if you can write and sing and listen to music at the same time. Because I know I was speaking to Jim, and Jim doesn't do that at all. He hates sort of listening to music and doing like blog writing stuff. So yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's about finding your own, because I know a lot of people watch TV or have TV on in the background.
I have it on in the background. I need noise.
Yeah.
But it can't be something that I'm interested in.
No.
It mustn't be anything that I'm remotely interested in. Otherwise, it'll distract me. Or even worse, I'll realise that I'm missing something and keep rewinding it until I've wound it about 50 times, which is not really very productive.
No.
I rewatch things that I've already watched.
Yeah.
So like I'll watch old Top Gear episodes that I've watched to death a million times. I'll put Jurassic Park on in the back. Well, Jurassic Park's a difficult one because I will sit and watch that. I will get distracted by it. But like old films and old programs that I've watched to death over the years, that or whatever. And music is my firm buddy. I listen to it pretty much constantly, so no different for when I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
And probably what I listen to changes when I'm writing because it can't be too pumped, otherwise I want to be up and moving.
It's a tricky one though, isn't it? And I think everyone just needs to find their own way to do it, because Robin's very arty, very creative, but she's never really been hugely interested in the written word.
Mm-hmm.
I like the written word, but I need quite a specific place to get into it. And Gemma, it seems to me that you're very effervescent in your writing, and it flows quite naturally. So I think everybody has a very different way of getting into it and the way of doing it, and it's just finding what's right for you. So experiment, I think, is the biggest takeaway I have on that one.
Yeah. Great point. I was thinking this was going to be quite a list of things that you have to do, but it does come down to sort of individual choice on the way that you write best.
It does. And if you really don't like, so we talk ourselves into things like not being able to do maths, not being able to write. If you really, really don't like it, if it's something you don't want to do, and you don't, get a professional to help you.
Yeah.
There's lots of people out there who will write your newsletters for you, who will write your blogs for you. There's people like Sophie Comas, there's people like Kath Harlow, who are fantastic writers, and they'll really help you to do it. So give it a go. Don't be afraid of it. There are lots of different strategies and places to try writing, but if you don't like it and it is taking you hours and hours, get a professional in.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's not worth stressing yourself out over it. It's a business expense at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. And some people just don't like doing it.
No, which is fine.
That's fair. I don't particularly like being on video. It's not my thing. If I could avoid being on video for the rest of the time, I would. So yeah, that's what I would pay other people to do for me, because it's just not a thing that I like. But yeah, we all have those things. And yeah,
I think it's just one of those things. Don't feel pressured that you have to do it yourself, or feel like you're a failure if you can't do it or really don't like it. If it's like pulling teeth, then there's no harm in saying to somebody, look, I need your professional services.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, ladies, I think that was a productive chat. What have you got going on in the next, it's Thursday now, so weekend plans. What are your weekend plans?
I think I'm going for a walk on Saturday. I'm going to the salon on Saturday.
Getting nails did? Or hair did?
So, nails. Nails are naked, very unusually at the moment.
Very strange.
And then on Sunday, I think I'm being the model for a friend's massage exam at university. So
So you're getting a free massage, or yeah. Exciting times. Yeah. Robin, what about you?
Well, I built some furniture and didn't tidy up afterwards.
That old chestnut.
So I've got a lot of cardboard boxes that are going to take me quite a while to
Are they bigger than you?
Yeah, all of them are bigger than me. There are 4 boxes this thing came in. Tidying, I'm probably going to be blogging some because I need to get my backlog sorted. And gaming, probably.
Exciting. Lovely. Wonderful. That sounds good. Well, I am going to be enjoying the Olympics.
Oh, sorry, we didn't mention the Olympics, did we, Robin?
Thank you. Neither of you have you any of you watched it? Disgusting. No. How dare you?
I saw some when I was sitting in the chiropractor's reception today.
Well, that counts a little bit.
I didn't even realise it was on. I literally, until the news said Olympic gold medal, it was talking about the gymnastics, and I was like, oh, well.
Maidenhead has won a string of gold medals.
For what?
Don't know. Oh. Loads of them. It's like 3 or 4 medals that.
Not at the Olympics, surely.
Yes, that are picked from people in Maidenhead.
Oh, okay, that's exciting.
It was very exciting. Oh. So I shall probably have a little rewatch of those to
see who's won. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. I don't think anyone from Frodshams won any. It's only like 700 people. No, actually, I don't know how many people there are here. Probably not enough for any Olympic medals, I don't think, sadly. No, but I'm looking forward to what we've got coming up. The canoe slalom.
Oh,
like a bit of that. I think that's on the 31st. We've got some BMX coming up and the men's weightlifting.
Oh,
a heavy one.
Saw the sad news about the men's high jumper, the American guy, who was likely to get gold. He's got COVID.
Oh no, that's so sad.
Can't compete. All of those years of training, and it's just like, oh.
Right at the post.
Right at the post. I think he's the world champion and everything. So he was expected to take gold, and then.
So I bet it's also been super hard on them because of, obviously, this is a year later than it was supposed to be. So they usually have their 4-year break, right? They've got their
training schedule, yeah.
And they've now been training for an extra year, basically. To keep up and keep in shape, or whatever they've had to do to make it work, and then all of a sudden to just get to that post and be like, sorry, you can't compete. That's really got to throw your body out of whack.
Tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Right, ladies, well, we shall see you next week for another extravaganza.
Oh, what are we talking about next week? I don't know.
That's a question. I don't know. It's on the list. We have a list. I did that last week, but we'll let you know. I think I haven't got it on the thing, so I don't know off the top of my head, but it'll be exciting. I'll have my tattoo.
Oh yes.
Yes, on this arm, not anywhere near this painful thing, which hopefully won't be there for too much longer.
I look forward to seeing that.
Yes. Well, we shall see you next time. Bye.
Take care. Bye.